would speak with us. They went on to tell me that they did not want the images that we would get and then broadcast for police to see those images and then go and arrest them for painting the street outside the district attorney building. Of course, the red being a symbol of blood in the streets. But, initially, these protesters, they got right into our face, as you just saw right there. They were blocking our cameras. They were giving us really very little room to operate. We're on public property. We have every reason to be here. Some of them were saying, yes, we understand what you're doing, but we're being told to block your images while they painted the street. And so now as they move north down Main Street right here, we'll try to catch back up with them. But at this point, this is a new tactic that I have not seen before. And again, some of them, not all of them, just a handful of them being somewhat aggressive towards us. And we're trying to figure out exactly what was going on out here. We just did not know what was going on. But again, they're very, very emotional out here because of today's ruling. And they're just not wanting some of the images that took place here that unfolded over the last few minutes to be seen publicly out there in the world. Heidi.
So, Jim, let's talk a little bit about what's happening. They've all moved away from you, but in the 15, 20, 30 minutes before you were on air, all I could see were umbrellas. So they're policing their own protests, essentially?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it wasn't just us. It was every single news crew out here from every single media outlet. They were putting umbrellas. They were putting signs literally within inches of our camera lens when we had our phones out to try to tweet or go on Facebook Live and post to social media. They were doing the same thing. Anyone that had a camera out, they were blocking. And originally they would not say why. I finally talked with someone that explained to me they feel like the images that get put out there when they do that tends to get them arrested. And so they wanted to prevent that from happening. This is their way of protesting. Again, it's something that I have not seen before, a tactic that I have not seen before.
Crimes usually do get you arrested. We're going to keep a close eye on this tonight. We have multiple reporters on scene. Jim will be coming back to you. Brian Millay, he's also in downtown Salt Lake City tonight. We want to set the scene here and see exactly where you're at and what you're seeing out there right now. Brian?
We are on 500 South between State Street and Main Street right now. And here's a person who's been saying that that's enough. You can talk to me later. You can talk to me. We'll back up. We'll back up. So you get the idea of what we're dealing with out here. We get the idea.
He talks a bunch of bullshit.
Okay.
He doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about.
It's happening right now, as you can hear. When we're live, sometimes we cannot control exactly what people are saying, and there's been a large effort tonight of protesters down there to block all of our cameras and all of our ability to cover what's happening tonight. So again, we'll try to go back to Brian in just a minute. Michael Locklear is also in the area of downtown Salt Lake City tonight. Let's check in with him and see if there's a different story there. Michael?
Yeah, hey Heidi, earlier we were surrounded by 10 or 15 of these protesters with their signs saying justice for Bernardo. They didn't want us to be there. It was clear about that. They didn't want our cameras to show the images. They obviously want to exercise their freedom of speech, but have a problem with our freedom of the press for whatever reason. So this is 500 South at State Street. There are a number of vehicles that are continuing to block traffic. And over there you can take a look. There's been this gentleman on a motorcycle who from time to time has been revving his engine in order to drown out our voices, to block our cameras and our journalism that's been going on here. And so down there you see all of the red that's been on the district attorney's office, the sign there, and the windows are just covered with the signs. The protesters no longer surrounding the DA's office in the numbers that they were earlier. And again, we were closer down that way just a little bit ago, and then, in their words, we were escorted out of the area that they thought we should be. We had moved back to the sidewalk. That wasn't sufficient for them, and so eventually we got to here, and as they've moved on, they've walked away as well. So we're trying to cover this. We're trying to express what it is that we're seeing, but there is definitely a sense that they don't want everything to be seen, and if they have a message, they don't necessarily want us to tell it. We're live downtown. Michael Locklear, 2 News.
Michael, it certainly is strange when we're watching protests and protesters don't want to be on TV. Usually they want that scene. You were talking about how protesters are trying to police the situation. What about actual police, Salt Lake City police officers? What's their presence like downtown right now? Are they standing back or are they moving with them?
Yeah, so what we're seeing from Salt Lake City Police is a strategy that we've seen throughout the past few weeks. We know that there have been a number of protests about the death of Bernardo Palacios, and there have been a number of protests at the DA's office. What police have generally done is given them a cushion, a buffer of about 1 block. And I can show that for you. So this is kind of where the protesters have determined they're going to be. And 1 block beyond on 400 South, we see several police cruisers, and they're actually moving to the east right now, but they're a couple of blocks away. And then, Brian, why don't you show down 500 South that way? There are a couple of police cruisers down that way, again, blocking traffic, giving a buffer around the protest, as I mentioned has been the case in the previous protests over the past few weeks. And then there are also some police cruisers blocking traffic down there in that 600 South. So that's what we can see. We can see a buffer of police cruisers on all sides, giving these protesters some room.
All right, Michael, we'll be checking back in with you. It's a strange scene out there. A lot of protesters downtown, but a lot of that we can't show on camera because they block them right now. We're going to be continuing to watch and see exactly what's happening downtown. But this all started after Salt Lake County Attorney DA Sim Gill ruled earlier today that the Bernardo Palacios shooting was justified. So again, there are protesters out there tonight blocking off 5th South in Salt Lake City tonight. Right now, where would we like to go to next? We want to go back to Brian Malahy. Just a minute ago, we were unable to talk to him because a protester was not allowing him to. Brian, what's the scene like now? Is it quieted down a little?
No, not really.
Not really.
We still have this person right here, and we understand that the crowd is going to be walking this direction. Back here on 500 South and State Street, you can see that cars are blocking the street. They also have blocked that area over there. There is red paint that has been sprayed against, that have been splashed all over the district attorney's office. This is Patrick Fitzgibbon, one of our photographers, dealing with that. Please don't interrupt us. They painted red on the street. They've also put handprints with red paint on the Salt Lake County DA's building and also the sign out there. DA said earlier today, look, you know, as long as it's peaceful, he's okay with them protesting them. And then this is the situation. This is kind of what we're dealing with. We were told to get the F out. You know, we're all effing liars. Yeah, we were. Yeah, we were. We were told that, you know, we can't take any pictures, but even though we're on a public street. And then, you know, people here say, some of them say, well, this is about peace and love. They're telling journalists to get out.
No, they're telling journalists
police are not around. Police are down the street a block. Police are this way down the street. No police on 500 South. This is the situation that we're dealing with. And we have this going on. And then here is on 400 South and State Street. The protesters have moved that direction. So they've gone west, then they've gone north, and then they've headed east. And right now it looks like they're blocking that area, that intersection right now. Very busy intersection. You see the police cars are behind that. Beyond that, another block. So this is what's been going on downtown. Here we have Black Lives Matter on one of the cars out here. We've listened to protesters say F Sim Gill, and Sim Gill is a murderer, and all kinds of things like that. That's what's happening in downtown Salt Lake City. And so we have a protest that happens at 6 o'clock in the evening. The press is here, but apparently the protesters didn't want us to shoot the protesters tonight, and then we're still dealing with this. So that's what's going on. Well, okay, that's what you think. You think that Sim Gill. You represent.
What I've heard Sim Gill spew today was the same thing he told me when my brother was murdered by SLC PD, word for fucking word.
Okay,
so,
all right, we can't deal with that right now. We can't.
He was coming with the
I'm happy to talk to you later about it. I'm happy to talk to you about it. Okay.
So Brian,
so that's the situation right here. We're going to move and try to get to a different location. You get the idea what's going on downtown.
It's an interesting situation where they want to have their First Amendment rights down there. They want to be able to protest, but they don't want reporters to show the protests. It's a first in my career seeing that. Usually protesters are out there because they want their pictures on TV. It looks like a lot of them have learned from the last protest that Salt Lake City police are clipping their photos from those video images, putting them on the news, and then making those arrests later. We'll get some better video for you in a few minutes, but you can see a ton of red paint all over the brand new DA's office down there along the streets. No word yet if there's been any violence at this point, but certainly a lot of people not wanting reporters to put this on TV tonight. Now, for the very latest on these protests, you can always go to KUTV.com or also download the 2 News app. We will be right back after this. We're going to keep following these protests. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.